Hi cuties, and welcome to our second installment of our Japanese history lesson. Today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Yayoi period, otherwise known as Japan's Iron Age from 300 BC to 250 AD. Some of the biggest developments that happened in the transition from the Jomon period to the Yayoi period were three major elements. The first being the change in pottery style. Now pots had a smoother appearance and resembled similar pots found in Korea, and it's said that the style originated there rather than Japan. The second is wet rice cultivation came to Japan, introduced by Korea and Southeast China sometime between 1000 BC and the 1st century AD. Thirdly, and most importantly, metallurgy was introduced. During the Yayoi period, bronze and iron were used to make armor, weapons, tools such as the ishibacho, a special polished blade used in the reaping of rice, and ritual items such as dotaku bells and bronze mirrors. All were made with the use of sandstone molds. Jade and jasper production also came to Japan during this time, and a traditional staple you may have seen before called magatama, these beautiful carved kama-shaped like beads. People in the Yayoi period also matured from the nomadic lifestyle we saw in the Jomon period to living in permanent settlements of clustered villages of thatched houses. From there, a class society began to emerge, grouping those clusters into clan nations or kuni, and by the 1st century AD, it's said there were more than 100 kuni. Throughout the 2nd and 3rd centuries, these clans would fight constantly until the Yamato clan took dominance in the 5th century, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves there. The Yayoi period also showed changes in beliefs. Artifacts suggest a variety of religious festivals honoring different deities. Thanks to this Iron Age, bronze bells, daggers, spearheads, and mirrors were particularly used in ceremonial purposes, worshipping these deities. Divination was carried out through the use of searing deer bones, and they developed a secondary burial practice. The bones of the deceased were exhumed, washed, painted with red ochre, and placed in jars, then buried again in large pits, sometimes surrounded by moats. Many of them were buried again with mirrors, beads like the magatama, and weapons. Some of the most interesting points about this part in Japanese history is what we can find in Chinese record. In the Book of the Later Han, the area we now know today as Fukuoka was referred to as Nakoku or Nanokuni, and the rulers of that area had been granted a golden imperial seal from Emperor Guangwu of Han in 57 CE. In the classics of the mountains and seas, Japan is referred to as Wo or Wa. Wa is actually still used in reference to Japanese things like wafuku or washoku, Japanese clothing and Japanese food, but most interestingly is found in the records of Wei. It describes Japan as a highly stratified society with wealthy landholders ruling over a common people. A kingdom called Yamatai or Yamatai Koku was said to have been controlling 30-some territories, each ruled by a chieftain or king. But my favorite part is the mentioning of the mysterious shaman queen, Queen Himiko, who was chosen to rule the kingdom of Wa after decades of civil war, and she maintained relations with the Chinese court and the king of Silla, now Korea. That's right, a lady leader of Japan. What? There's actually a lot of debate about her existence because, of course, the men that came after her tried to erase her from existence because she was just too awesome and made everyone else look bad. She ruled unmarried and her people adored her. It's said that upon her death there were riots. And when the new male ruler came in, the people were not so happy about that, and you can guess that his reign did not last long, if you know what I mean, and soon he was replaced by a new queen. And people think having a woman president is unrealistic. It's suggested that she ruled in the areas of Saga Prefecture and Nara Prefecture, and that the Hashihaku Kofun in Makimuku is the tomb of Himiko. Put that on places to hit up when in Japan. During her reign and the entirety of the Yayoi period, Japan saw major social, political, economic, and military growth. Taxes were introduced as well as a system of punishment. It was a crazy time in the Yayoi period, but it was all leading up to an even crazier time in the Kofun period, which we will talk about next time. If you have further questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments below or on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. And don't forget to go check out everything I'm selling on eBay and my Etsy store, like this super awesome necklace and bracelet that I made myself. And you can help me get back to Japan. Otherwise, I will see you next week, cuties. Bye! Today I'm going to tell you everything you know to know. A special polished blade to use, almost got there, to help in the reaping of rice. And they created a secondary burial practice. That's the word I was looking for. The bones of the deceased were exhumed, washed, painted with red ochre, and placed in jars as I die. So please do that with my bones. Many of them were buried again with mirrors, beads like the magatama, and mirrors. I said mirrors. And weapons. I meant weapons. Society with a what? With what?